Thank you, Rachel. It's interesting for me to hear agriculture being described in any way as a problem, because for us in Nigeria, it's always been very much a solution, and an absolutely necessary solution. For a country of over 190 million people, 200 million people, depending on which statistics you want to believe, Lagos State with a population of about 20 million people, going to certainly double or more than double by 2050. Agriculture and the need to provide food security, which is very much related to national security, is probably the #1 or #2 item on the agenda. As many of you know, Nigeria has been over-dependent on oil for several years and is in urgent need of diversifying the economy. Agriculture is the largest employer of labor. And so it's interesting when we come to hear about agriculture being described in any way as a problem when it is, for us, a solution. The issue is this: how can we rapidly improve our output? How can we rapidly improve yields without necessarily, as in a conversation I had just a few minutes ago, repeating the same problems or entering into the same tricky issues that many of the more advanced countries have experienced? And so this project, which we call the Ile project, is an opportunity for us to leapfrog, as has been done in certainly the financial services industry, where developing countries were able to very, very rapidly move to mobile and electronic banking because of the lack of infrastructure and the lack of vested interest in systems that already existed. We can do the same in agriculture. And so, yes, there's been a huge amount of deforestation. We also experience problems about desertification, issues of climate change. But working together in a public-private partnership, there's been an opportunity to look at how we can reforest, in this case, 108,000 hectares. That's over 100,000 football fields of land in the west of Ogun State. Ogun State is a state which borders Lagos State on every side. Lagos State is the economic capital of Nigeria, as I said earlier on, with over 20 million people, rapidly expanding, huge rural-urban migration issues, huge need for food, both to satisfy Lagos State and to satisfy potential export markets. How can Ogun State, with this opportunity, certainly a bigger landmass than Lagos State, how can Ogun State use this opportunity that we have in agriculture, but as I said earlier, on avoiding the problems that have been experienced before? So we have about 108,000 hectares of land in the west of the state, which is currently a forestry and game reserve. It only has about 5% forest cover. But there's an opportunity to see how we can reforest the land, take care of the interests of the smallholder farmers and peasant farmers who are currently existing on the land, and also provide commercial venture and enable the farmers make a livelihood, which is at the end of the day what's important. The smallholder farmers are not necessarily farming because they want to satisfy commercial interests. Many of them are just farming to satisfy their basic food needs. They need food to feed their families. And that's why forests are cut down, because they need food. Charcoal is sold because they need income. They need to be able to send their children to school. And so this is an opportunity for us to work together. It's a partnership that started with Lafarge, Ogun State, and the NSI, which is the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Nigeria. Iledotun, as the project was christened, the name was actually coined by the local community. They were carried along from the very inception, and the picture you have on your screens here shows one of the many consultations that happened. And so it's really a way of saying, how can we ensure that the interests of these very peasants and local farmers are interested, at the same time the interests of the large commercial farmers who have an opportunity to come and farm, practice agriculture on the land, are also protected.
Iledotun means land revival.
Yes, so. and that name was actually coined by the community. So it's quite a simple concept. Lafarge, Ogun State, and the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Nigeria came together to conceive this. It was conceived in 2015, and the initial agreement was signed at COP21. We're now 2+ years on, and basically the idea is that the state has given the land in terms of a 50-year lease to a company which is jointly owned by Ogun State and the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And essentially the land will be rehabilitated. A third of it will be reforested. On a third of it, the smallholder farmers would continue to exist, practicing now more sustainable methods of agriculture, being educated by the likes of Invivo, who already have 300,000 farmers in cooperatives. So how do these farmers get together and farm in a more commercially sustainable manner? And a third of it is basically the forestry plantations, which are paid for by the commercial farmers. And so through this, we should have a restoration of infrastructure, rural roads, schools, hospitals, which some of the money raised will go towards. We'll be able to sell biomass for energy. We'll be able to sell, we'll have CO2 credits being generated, so this becomes self-financing. Water, which the water table which has been polluted, will be purified through the reforestation and planting of trees. A lot of work has been done with several research agencies in Nigeria to understand what crops and can grow on the land. And we're very much at a stage where we're ready to go forward to the next stage. There's been a huge amount of interest in this project, and we're very confident that it will go ahead. So the public-private partnership has really been these parties coming together to see how we could gain from sales of energy, water, organic fertilizer. The farmers and cooperatives are being established. The community gains with access to education, community roads, health, water. And off-takers, perhaps companies like yourself, gain from understanding that you will be investing in areas where a more sustainable method of agriculture is being practiced. So Ile.tun, we believe, is a virtuous system with long-lasting gains. By 2030, the targets are that 80% of the tree cover would be reestablished. We'd have over 100,000 hectares of arable land, over 90,000 jobs created, renewable energy, climate-resilient agricultural practices, food security, nutrition, livelihoods, education, healthcare, and improved infrastructure. This is a project that we hope, the point of this presentation is to ensure that we keep getting the visibility, the information across. This is probably one of the largest land degradation neutrality projects to be established, certainly at least in Africa. And we're very proud of the work that has been done so far, and we hope that we'll get the international support. Thank you.